This video portfolio response is a reflection on the video by Thinker about the new classroom company and the future of learning that they have suggested. So, Thinker is a YouTube channel that basically tries to bring new and revolutionary ideas to the public eye through stories and people and companies that are doing interesting new things. I think that they are very related to education because they they really care about finding new ideas, new ways to do things, and that's really what education is becoming. There's no longer this drive for doing whatever works. It's now we're going towards a sort of place in the world where we want to do what works for everybody. What works for me might not work for the person sitting beside me, and vice versa. It's really important to try to think about every student as an individual in your classroom and delve into how they may learn best. So, I think that the better question here might be, are there any ways in which Thinker isn't invested in education and in the future classroom? Basically, the video discusses the idea that instead of having a one classroom to have one form of learning in, that there should be one big classroom to have 10 different types of learning in. Some groups might do better in a collaborative project. Some groups may do better with a teacher. Some groups learn well with an online instructor. Some like to use software. Some like to just old school sit down with a pencil and paper. And this new idea of a classroom really gives everyone the opportunity to do that. So you walk into your classroom, you have a schedule. There are signs all around the room that tell you which station to go to at which time. So if your station is called the green station, then you are going to head to the green station. Your schedule says to go there for 20 minutes. At the green station, there's an instructor giving a small group of students a little bit of a lesson on the unit. Your next station you need to go to might be the pink station. There's a sign, you go find the pink station, and at the pink station there's a group of students who are different than the group of students you were just working with, working on something similar, the same sort of project. Everyone's learning the same thing but in different ways. So at the pink station you're going to be working with a group. There's no teacher around to tell you what to do, but all the students are expected to help to participate to drive their own learning. Next, your schedule says to go go to the computer station, which might be called the yellow station. You go over there and you do a little assessment, a little mini quiz. It's not for grades, it's not for marks, it's just to see how your learning went that day. And then later that night you might get an email, or at the end of the day you might pick something up that tells you during that class time what stations you're going to be at the next day. So the next day you might end up at a station where you can work with a computer software program because you hadn't tried that the day before, and the software decided that that might be what works best for you. So generally, every student learns a different way, and this model gives students the opportunity to figure out how they learn best and maybe let them learn in that way rather than the traditional how it always used to be, desks in rows, watching a teacher teach, and then writing an exam and doing an assignment. It's a very different concept, and it's something that you don't see a lot. I feel like in classrooms lately, you do see it more often where students are given the opportunity to try to find their own path a little bit more, but unfortunately it's not super common, and that's why we always do end up with students that are struggling, students that are exceeding expectations, and students just in the middle, is because maybe they all are equally as intelligent and they all have the same drive to learn, but some just can't in the traditional setting. I think that there are a lot of good things that could come from implementing this idea. A few of the pitfalls that I think could happen because of this idea is if students are feeling unmotivated, they may be at a station where there's no teacher to guide them and to direct them, and they might become disruptive, and that might be detrimental to some students in the classroom. The other thing is that you might have multiple teachers working in the same room, and for that to be successful and for that to be something that the school can afford to do, that means that you need to have that many more students in the room. So maybe a lot of students are learning really, really well using the computer program, but the school may not have access to as many computers as you would need for all the students to be able to use that program at that time. I don't see this working in a modern classroom anytime soon, just because the support and the overseas instructors that they imply that you might need. I don't think that that's really something that schools have the ability to do. And logically, I don't see schools blasting out walls to make one big classroom where there is already four. I think at this point in education, it makes sense to have different classrooms. I think each teacher can take some advice and some encouragement from this concept, and each teacher can go and try to give their students more opportunity to learn in more different ways. However, I don't think that it's there yet that we're going to start having huge classrooms with multiple learning stations at this point. I do see it as being possible in the future when technology is even more readily available and when the educational paradigm makes that shift to each student needs to be taught their own way rather than the majority might fit into some specific way of learning. Overall, I thought it was a really good video. I like the idea. I think that I'm definitely going to, in my classroom, use some of the ideas to allow students to better themselves and to feel good about what they're doing. I just don't think it's there for everyone and for every classroom yet.